Are you really ready to fuel your success as an investor in your personal mindset and being part of a community that wants every person to succeed? Welcome to the Thriving Investor Podcast with author, educator, successful non-traditional investor, Troy Fullwood. Turn up the volume and let's get you set up to thrive.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Troy Fullwood from the Thriving Investor Show, Fuel Your Success. And today I've got an amazing friend, a gentleman that I've known for, oh my goodness, probably 4 or 5 years now. And our paths continue to cross on a regular basis, which is fantastic. He's actually part of the Seller Finance Coalition, which I'm also a member of, and he's passionate about seller financing. And as gentleman's name is Mr. Mitch Stevens. Sorry about that, Mitch. How you doing today?
Doing good. That's one of the biggest mistakes of tragedy in my life. That everyone wants to put a V in the middle of my name and an S on the end of it. I said, look, I got 2 first names, okay? Mitch Stephen. I know it's weird, and it's really not a big deal, except for if you don't stop it up front, it just ends up on all the. I do legal work all the time, papers, right? And they're all wrong. So I just try. But anyway,
I love it. I love it. How you been, buddy? How you been? Good?
Man, I've been really good. The good Lord's been super great to me, and out there, trying to have the heart of a servant and help as many people as I can. And it's just really funny when you help as many people as you can, your own life gets pretty good. So my life is like out of this. I don't even know what else I would do or say or want to be. I'm very happy.
I love it. I love hearing the Lord's blessing upon people's lives. That's always it just reconfirms the servant attitude and how beneficial that can be for people on both sides of the fence. So that's fantastic.
It's great. Natural laws. You know what I mean?
It's funny how when you embrace them, how they bless you, but if you don't embrace them, how they can curse you at the same time.
Squash you, man. They'll squash you.
They'll squash you every time. You and I have known each other for a while. We are, like I said, we've worked on some stuff together. We've worked on some projects. We're both passionate about the seller finance industry, and to the point where we're committing time and money and resources to the Seller Finance Coalition there in Washington, D.C., Bill HR 1360. But that's not really where we started. That just kind of became a chapter in this book that we're kind of working our way through. How did you get started in notes and creating a path to financial freedom for yourself and for your family?
The abbreviated version is I screwed up and I bought a couple of things, and when I sold them, I made more money than I did in 2 years working at my job. And I thought, that's interesting how that works. Here I am busting me arse, 10 hours a day or more. And I just did these couple of things, and I just put this huge lump sum in my bank account, which is worth like 2 years of me working every day. So I went back to try to study to see if I could duplicate that accident, see if I could duplicate it. Come to find out, there's a whole industry out there about duplicating it. And I jumped off in, bought some good courses, bought some bad courses, got kicked around the block like everybody else. So got taken a couple times, but it's the same story with everyone I talk to. If you think you're the only one that paid a lot of money for a stupid course and didn't get what you wanted, you're crazy. It's like the rule. You have to do that once, you have to do that in order to get in this club practically.
Yeah.
Be better off if you didn't, but that's how it seems to work with everybody. And I started reading books like Nothing Down by Robert Allen, because first thing you have to do is realize your limitations. So I went right to books that would talk to me about people that had the limitations I had, which the big thing was no money. I read Nothing Down by Robert Allen, but it took me 7 years to own the concept in my heart that you didn't really need money to participate in this arena.
Mm.
So when, what I figured out was, if you don't have money, then you're a professional deal finder / writer-upper. Is that a word, writer-upper?
It is now.
Yeah, so that's my new word. Put it in Wikipedia, please. You have to be able to get a good deal on a property, like an outstanding deal, and then be able to put it in the form of a well-written contract that has everyone's interest involved, but certainly your interest up there because you're negotiating for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you had an outstanding contract in your hand, which is your personal property, that you could sell that personal property for a real decent fee, depending on how great that deal was. I mean, outstanding deals could command a $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 assignment fee. So you just had to learn to write your contract like me, Mitch Stephen, and/or Assigns was the buyer. So I could buy it within this X amount of days, or I could assign it to someone who wanted to buy it. And if I assigned it to someone, I probably wanted to get paid for my work, so I'd attach a price to that. So in the beginning days, just like you and me and almost everybody I know, we all started out as professional deal finders.
Yeah.
When you don't have money, you substitute with time and expertise. If you don't have money, then you got to use your time and your expertise to go find the deal, because, and this is another one of those things, just like you don't need money to be a real estate investor. You don't need, it's the deal that finds the money. You know what I mean? That's another one that people say, yeah, I heard that bullshit before. It's not. If you have a really great deal, people will beat your door down to give you the money for that deal to participate in part of the upside of that deal.
Absolutely.
So that's as simple as that. And I think almost everybody I know started out broke, and I think everyone I know started out as a professional deal finder trying to find someone to partner with.
Absolutely. One of the things that you and I have in common is that you're in San Antonio. I started the note business in San Antonio, my note business, and lived at Jones Maltzberger in Thousand Oaks and worked with a guy who had 700 notes. And that's all I did. I just simply took his notes and sold them off to the Associates Financial Services back in the day. And I made a little piece of the pie. We had an agreement. I got 5 points on every deal. I was just basically the paper shuffler on each one of them and figured out the missing pieces on each note deal, and away I went. So,
well, that's what I met associates too. Is I was buying houses. I didn't have the money to flip them, so I was buying houses on my credit cards, and then I was letting people move in and create a note, and then I was selling the note to someone like you who was bundling them all up and taking them to associates.
There you go.
So I did that 400 times in a row. Bought it, sold it with owner financing, and sold the note. And in the first days, I did it all at the same table. Bought it, sold it, and sold the note all at the same closing table. Maybe a different room, bought it in that room, walked out, sold the note in that room, I did triple closings a lot. When you don't have money, you learn how to line up the stars and the moon and get it all done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What was your turning point in this business, for you? I mean, you talked about how we get started, and we have a lot of similarities in that space. I think anybody that's successful does. But what was your turning point? What was your aha moment in the business?
Man, there's been a lot of them, because there's a lot of different stages of business, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first one was that the aha moment was when I sold 2 rental properties and had more in the bank than I made in 2 years, Not that I could save in 2 years, more than I just made gross in 2 years. I had it in the bank. That was the first one. The second one was that it was duplicatable and I could duplicate it. The third one was about seller financing and how much hidden money there is in that interest every month compound. It's just going on and on and on and on and on forever. Then I learned about volume, which was like a fourth revelation. Like I could really do this 100 times a year or 150 times a year. Mm-hmm. And then lately, I learned how to automate it and how to run a real business and how to have that happen while I'm not there. That was like the latest revelation, was how to become the owner of your business and not a worker in your business. So like I don't work in my business anymore. I have not seen the last 300 houses I bought, and I have not seen the last 300 people that bought my houses. I have not seen nor talked to them. I have not seen their applications. I didn't see the HUDs when I bought, and I didn't see the HUDs when I sold. I see the numbers.
Sure.
But that was my latest revelation of growth. And now today, a revelation is the education part and the funding part. You know, the only thing that limits me anymore is just how much money can I get to buy houses. You know, I can buy almost as many houses as I want. And that's not true. I mean, but I could buy a lot more than I do if the money was just sitting there on a table for me to grab.
Sure. Sure.
So I was using the educational business to help find, like the podcast. I'm using that business to help me connect me with people that have money that would like to make 8%, that feel like the security of this first lien on this house is more than good for that risk, and it should be, and it is. But I'm looking for people that appreciate that one scenario, and I've been able to find $14 million of it so far.
No, that's great. One of the things that I love about our business in working with investors with IRA money or even savings money or just, mattress money is we do provide a high level of security when they invest in the note or they finance the deal, because they're, for lack of better words, they're the captain of the ship. It's, and we're just basically a crewmate or a crewman and navigating through it, making sure that the port leaves or the ship leaves port and then gets back safely at the end of the day. And you won't find that in any other business or industry. You won't find that in the stock market. You won't find that in the cryptocurrency market or the gold market or bond market or any of those things. Those are things, those returns are outside of your control and my control. And that's one of the things that always drew me towards this business, is because we get to be the captain of our destiny, I guess, at the end of the day. We get to own the wins and we get to own the losses, because they're, not every deal is perfect. And you and I have come across those things, but we've got a lot more wins than we have losses. So that's what I was just going to say.
That's exactly what brought me to this business. I was in a lot of service businesses, and I would perform and I couldn't get paid, and there was nothing I could do about it. I mean, I could sue them in court, but by the time you figured all that out, you weren't going to, the waste of time and the waste of money and what they owed you compared to what it was going to cost to go to court, it wasn't worth it. So this business had this unique ability to make me whole. And if I played within a certain amount of rules, and I figured out what those rules are, and I don't let my private money lenders go out of those rules that I have learned to be true. I self-police my investors. I never let them in over 65% of the value of a property. I average 58%. So if I'm going to, I think I can owner finance for $100,000. I average borrowing $58,000 from my private lender and putting that private lender in a first lien position for $58,000 on a house that I'm selling for $100,000, or that already has a person in that paid me $100,000.
Yeah.
So, and if I don't pay my private lender, he gets my house. You buy into a business, you usually get a stock certificate or something. If they don't pay you, you don't get anything but a big bunch of opportunity to pay some lawyer bills. You know what I mean? So if you want to go after them, go hire a lawyer. Wow, you just got a bunch of lawyer bills for if I don't pay you, you get my house. And believe me, and that's never happened in my career. I've never given a house back once in 1,500 houses in 22 years. But it's the other possibility. Yeah. The possibility. I think people would actually be better off if they got my houses,
Well, but that's the great part about our business, is that actually they would be better off if they got the house.
Yeah, that's why no one's gotten one of my houses in 1,500 houses.
That's what keeps us motivated to stay on track all the time. So no, I love it. So
the other way that I'm doing investors is like, maybe I've sold a house and it has 30 years worth of payments due to me. I'm selling them like the first 200 payments. Mm-hmm. And I'm owed the last 160 payments. Yeah. You don't think I'm going to take care of this deal? How much money is 160 payments at $1,000 a month? That's 160,000. You think I'm going to let that thing go down?
Right.
So
Exactly.
in order for me to get to my last 160 payments of that 360 month promise that my buyer made,
Sure.
I got to make sure that you get your first 200 payments.
Right. Right.
So that I can get my last 160. So it's a built-in, you have a built-in police force expert right here when you buy one of my partials. And in those partials, people are able to make, you know, in the way I have it set up, 8% on their money with that kind of protection. And there's a house behind all of it that I know how to manipulate and deal with if things go wrong. I'm one of the best reloaders, or the best guy in the world to resell a little house in San Antonio, Texas, because all my houses, all of them are in downtown San Antonio or surrounding areas.
Oh, that's a great area.
I don't know that anybody in town knows my town Walmart house style houses. I don't know that anybody in town knows that segment of housing in San Antonio better than me. I'd have to meet that guy.
Yeah.
I know there's some that are really good, but I don't know that anyone's at that level. I don't know that one's that much better than the other. They have to be measured by fractions, you know, because we've been in this business for 22 years. I've had a house on almost every street on the south side, east side, and west side of San Antonio, if not 4 or 5 houses on those streets. So.
Well, it's, you know, that's the beauty of what we do. And you know, the biggest players in our business are the banks and the institutions. And when you look at what the banks and the institutions do, if they wanted to be in real estate, if they wanted to be in fix and flip or multifamily or commercial or warehouse lending or retail, they could, because they can control that money and their cost of capital, and they could go out there and they could be the next biggest, you know, retail ownership firm in the world. But they don't, because they're saying, okay, we're going to give you money, or we're going to give this person money, and you're going to go out there and you're going to fix this house, or you're going to buy this shopping center, this apartment complex, and you're going to work your magic, and you're motivated as an investor to increase the value of that asset into something that makes you money. And the bank's just sitting there collecting their monthly payment. They don't care if you paint that thing hot pink or, you know, turquoise blue. As long as they get their monthly payment every month, they're as happy as can be. And that's basically the role that you and I play in this business. Those are the hats we wear. And we've just learned that the value of compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world, as they like to say. And that's powerful. And to bring that, to be able to serve that up to what I call street level investors like you and I, and give what I call the core value, or the core lifeblood of our country, an opportunity to control their destiny it's huge. It's huge.
Man, that was very well said, because, you know, my average investor is starting to change a little bit for reasons I'll tell you in a minute. But, you know, my average investor is between 70 and 85 years old.
Okay.
He can't start over again. He cannot afford to make a mistake. They're depending on, most of them, or a lot of them, are depending on that interest income to live and to survive. They got their Social Security. They might have some kind of SSI thing, but then they might have some kind of pension or something. But what I pay them on their idle money is what they can't do without it, and they can't ever get it back again, because they're too to start over. So I got to make sure that they got something behind that loan that's valuable, very valuable. So the houses that I have, I don't know when a medium class house in San Antonio, Texas is going to be worth nothing. But if that ever happens, then neither is your money, and we're probably picking up guns and going somewhere. It won't matter where you had your money, because the day that those houses go down to nothing in value will be the day that it would be way after the banks failed and way after the stock market crashed. It'll be the last thing to go.
Sure.
And the other thing I wanted to say is, I've had my private stable of investors for decades. That's how comfortable they are. They've been with me for almost going on 2 decades. I said decades because some of them would have been 2 decades if they hadn't have died. But I started with them 20 years ago. And now I think I pay like 7 widows even today, I think. But
nice.
so there's
a good thing. That's a good thing, because I love that. I love that, just that one line, that you're now paying their widows, which means that you're being a blessing in their life still long after they've passed on.
And
That's generational wealth.
Make no mistake, 4 of those 7 knew they were going to pass well in advance. And they called me in, and we had a conversation of, are you going to take care of my wife when I'm gone? And I was absent. I said, look, I take care of everybody like they're my mother or my father, because that's how I police and make sure I stay out of troubles. Everyone has the same underwriting. There's no difference between my dad or your widow. It's all the same.
Yeah.
Because there's either safe, well, let's don't say that word because we can't say that word. There's minimal risk, or there's not minimal risk. And I stay in the minimal risk department. But beyond that, if my house has lost money, which I think I've lost on 6 deals and 1,500 deals in my career, most of those were in the early or the first 7 years, because I wasn't nearly as astute as I am now about these things.
Sure.
My investors never knew. I knew one thing for sure. Those people loaned me their money to get a payment. The fact that, the tornado hit this house and the insurance company doesn't want to cover this one aspect is none of their business.
Right.
It's none of their business.
Right.
I had a doctor the other day call me and says, have you ever lost on a house? I said, yeah, I lost on one of your houses. He says, you lost money on one of my houses? I said, yeah, it burnt down. He goes, I have a house that burnt down. I said, you had a house that burnt down? Which house? I said, I don't remember. It was like 10 years ago. I have no idea. I know I can see the house, and I know I paid $38,000 for it, but it burned down the day after I bought it. And there was a little glitch, and it wasn't covered. And, the policy just didn't get put in place in 24 hours, and I got caught in that 24-hour period. He goes, how come you never told me? I said, it was none of your business. You didn't loan me money to hear about that. You loaned me money, I would pay you the interest and pay you back. Mm-hmm. So he said, did you lose $38,000? I said, no. The land, I still owner financed the land for $25,000. I lost $13,000.
Perfect.
So out of 7 deals or 6 deals, I probably lost a total of $50,000-$60,000 total, spread over several years. None of them happened. I don't even think 2 of them happened in the same year. I think it's always been 1 in this year, and then it went a little time, and then there was 1. And those things are lessons. And 9 times out of 10, that thing can't happen to me again, given the new process I put in because of what happened. So, but sometimes it's just as bad as, you owner financed a house with someone, they couldn't make their payments, and they just friggin' tore your house down when they left. That's been 3 of them. You know what I mean? They just got pissed. They got pissed at me because they couldn't make a payment they promised to make. Go figure.
I want to go back to what you mentioned a moment ago, and this is one of the things that I've always respected about you and have enjoyed our friendship and our relationship over the years, is that you operate with a very high level of integrity, and I think, and you use the word self-policing, which I've always been a big believer in that in our industry as well, in self-policing the industry, because it's better business for everybody. And but you said something there that was about, it was none of the investor's business. And I'm a firm believer in that. When you're using other people's money, your job is to handle all of the issues, matters, create the rewards, and minimize the risk. And that's what your job is. Their job is to go to the mailbox and pick up a check, or to check their online bank statement and, make sure that you've gotten your payment. That's their job at that point. They don't want to hear about that. And so many times investors, cross that line to the other side, and they go back to their money.
Yeah, their problems, the investors' problems. That's a good way to lose all your investors. I mean,
absolutely.
So my job is to maintain my reputation at all times, 100%, right at the top level of where I want it to be, where it's always been, where I'm going to keep it. So in order to do that, I have to be honest with myself and everybody about what is the value of this asset I'm I'm trying to attain. I have to be an expert in value, and I got to make sure that there's a value. The value that I think is there is really there.
Yeah.
Second, I gotta give my lenders a first lien on that asset. Make sure that paper gets filed down at the courthouse. Mm-hmm. That's those. When you watch American Greed and you watch the guys, the real estate investors that are scamming the people. Yeah. This is the one of these first two things is not correct. The asset that they loaned on, or that they were telling these potential lenders that they were getting, was not worth what they told it was worth, right. Or it was worth it, but they borrowed the money from these people, but they never went and filed and gave the official first lien legitimately and legally to the lender. Yeah. Those are the two main things that have to happen. Beyond that, I have to watch that deal and make sure that it doesn't get out of hand or out of control. If people stop paying me, I can't address that issue 5 years later. I have to address it within the next 5 minutes. If they don't pay on the first, I'm talking to them on the second. You know what I mean? Because I can't let things get out of hand. And then last but not least, no matter what I decide to do with it, whether I decide to borrow that private money from my lender, I'm promising them 8%. Whether I decide to buy a house with it myself, or I'm going to loan it out to some investor that found a tremendous deal before me, I have to make sure that the liens get filed and the assets get filed, and that I'm right in the middle, knowing what happens every month. Is it current, or is it behind? And I get that spreadsheet every month. That's my job.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's oftentimes people, they forget what their job is, and they get off track and they go off on a tangent or down a road that's inconsistent to what they promised their investors. And sometimes they don't want to hold on to that responsibility, of that job. And, you and I both know that there are a lot of things that go on behind the curtain or behind closed doors that the rest of the world would probably, cringe at, but it's just running the business. It's just part of the business. So,
yeah, and you don't want to. They really don't need to be into all that minutia about it, because they're doctors or lawyers or retired. They have a reason why they're giving you the money, and mostly it's because they want to be a passive investor. The word passive gets thrown around way too much. I see people talking about buy these rent houses and create passive income. My ass. Rent house passive? My ass. I mean, what are you talking about? Let's go into this MLM and you can get passive income. Yeah, when you have 125,000 people on you, it will become passive. Until then, it's a bitch, okay? Yeah. You get 125 people in your downline, okay? One of the most passive things in the world is loan me or this Troy $100,000, get $170,000 or a $200,000 asset backing it up that you're going to get if you don't get paid, and you either get your payment or you get the house. That's passive. Yeah, that's passive. And if you get the house, you start to think, oh no, this is not going to be passive. Okay, I'm sorry. You are going to have to call an attorney, a real estate agent, and put it up for sale, and sell it for anywhere close to market, and you're going to get your money back, and you're probably going to get a crap load more. Mm-hmm. Which makes the interest that we promised to pay you look like chump change. Yeah. Because really the worst thing that happens to my investors when they deal with me is I do what I say and they make an 8% return. Because if I don't do what I say and they get my house, they're probably going to make a 25% return.
But that's that's exactly it. I don't think there's who's it that was talking about it. Gary V. Gary Vee was chatting about passive. He's like, there's no such thing as passive. He says there's residual income, but there's no such thing as passive income. Income has to be earned, and it has to be. Like that.
I once read a definition of financial freedom that read, financial freedom happens when your wants and your needs are exceeded by your passive income. Right off the bat, I changed passive income to cash flow, but I like residual income better. Yeah. Because it's residual, but there's nothing passive about sleeping is not passive, okay? Your lungs are moving, okay? Sleeping is not passive. So if sleeping's not passive, what in the hell could you invest in that's passive? Sleeping's not passive, okay? Because you think that sleeping's passive, just stay in bed for about 36 hours in a row and don't think that you're not going to have to get up and go get some food because you've been burning some energy.
Yeah, exactly. So I've had a couple questions that I've written down here. You know, tell me what's a profile of your perfect student in your world?
Oh, that's a great question. I actually go to great lengths to make sure that when I take someone on at the high level, you know, in the weekly coaching call for $3,500 a year or whatever, I'm not going to police whether I think I can help you or you can help me. I know that what I'm giving you out there can help any investor. I'm not going to try to police if at $3,500 if you can overcome that, because if you can't overcome the $3,500, thank God you got out of the business at that time, you know. But on the $15,000, $20,000 levels, I actually have a 45-minute conversation with someone that if I turn them down, it's not because they're not worthy. It's because I don't think I'm good enough to fix this. You know what I mean? Or to help this. Because I can, on the one-on-one coaching, my coaching is very different. I'm not a Millhouse. I don't push hundreds of people through my one-on-one. I can't, because my one-on-one is truly one-on-one. When that phone rings, I pick up the phone. Now, how many people can I do? Well, I have 6 businesses. I have a family. I have a ranch I like to hang out at a lot.
Yeah.
And then I got my students. I can only take in a year 15 people one-on-one that I give my phone number to. And it's not, here's my phone number. You can call me once a week for a half hour. No, it's my phone number. If you're doing something and you're not sure, call me. You're doing something you want to know if I can up your game, call me. If you're looking at a deal, call me. Even if you think it's a slam dunk deal, call me, because you don't know what you don't know, and I may know something about that deal.
Yeah.
Someone said to me the other day, I just bought this house and I got 0 down interest. I said, no kidding. What was it? It says they financed $100,000. I just divide the 100,000 by 240. They agreed. It was a 0 interest loan. I said, why didn't you call me? He says, it was a no-brainer. Why did I need to call you? I said, did you put a substitution of collateral clause in your contract so that when they win the lottery and want to pay you off, you don't have to pay off the 0% loan? He said, no. I said, you should have called me. You should have called me. You didn't know. You just, if the person who buys that house that you have a 0% loan on decides to pay you off in 2 years, they go get a new loan and pay you off, you are going to lose $100,000 0% loan that was going to go for 20 years because you didn't put a paragraph in the special provisions that was easy enough to get signed. It's called a substitution of collateral, substitution of collateral, special provision. That's what it is on my sheet.
Yeah.
Substitution of collateral, special vision number 5. And I looked down my list of special provisions on every deal and just kind of read them off. And the special provisions that I need to put in this contract jump out at me during the time I'm looking at that house. So my contracts always have a list of special provisions that I have used in the past right on top to help remind me of some of the clever things I've done or some of the clever things I've learned. But I'm not going to remember probably if I don't review all of them right before I make the contract.
Sure.
So my perfect student is not the newbie. I'm not here to teach someone how to fill out a contract. My perfect guy probably has 15 to 25 houses under his belt already. So I already know he's a doer. I know he's self-motivated. I know he's an action taker. Now I just need to up his game. And I only need to up his game $15,000 or $20,000 to be a value of him. And if he's done at least that many deals, and he is going to do at least that many deals in the next 12 months or whatever in the future, then I know I can be a value to him and help him overcome what he paid me. Nice. A lot of my students have over 100 houses, have over 50 houses. For me to up those game, I know sentences that will make you $20,000. Okay. If you're doing enough volume and you use this sentence every time, we can keep track of it over the next 10 deals. And I'll show you every time you use that sentence, how much more you got. And it won't take 4 or 5 people to fall into that sentence, and you'll have all the money you paid me back. That's one sentence. You know what I mean? That I know. So, some people go, I'm really nervous because everyone else is like 50,000 and 100,000, and you don't even get to talk to that guy. And why are you $15,000? I'm like, I got your personal cell phone number. I says, it's real easy. One is, I don't know how you substitute 1,500 deals worth of experience and 22 years worth of experience. I don't know how you sub that out. So I'm not going to.
Right.
And the second thing is if I charge you $50,000 or $100,000, I can get you there. But I'm going to have to hang around your ass for like 2 years. I don't want to be around you that long. I can make you an extra 15 or 20,000 in a couple of months. Done deal. We're happy. Goodbye.
Sure. You remind me of the mother bald eagle who, the baby eagle's sitting on the edge of the nest and it's got its feathers and it's ready to go, and the mother just like, poof, there you go.
Yeah, it's like, I've done all I can do here. I've done all I want to do here. I'm tired of this now. Are you good? Okay, good. Let's go. If you got a question, every now and then, give me a buzz, but you're ready. You don't need me anymore.
Well, that's the beauty. I mean, that's what you and I think the same way, and we value our time. We know what our skill set is. We know what we can do, and we just don't sugarcoat it and play games with what people are looking for. It's like, okay, here's where you're at. Here's where you want to be. Here's the direct line between the two. I'm just going to open the gate and you're going to run straight that direction, and you'll end up exactly where you're at. And
sometimes it's that easy, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes sometimes you're telling me the situation I'll say, ooh, I haven't seen this situation in a long time, but I have seen it like 3 other times in my life, and I know exactly what happens. This is how you stop what's fixing to happen to you ahead of time. I'm so glad you called me. You know what I mean? You're headed to this place. Maybe this will happen and maybe this won't, but here's a way to put a stop in there where it just won't happen. And if it does, you're prepared to win.
Sure.
So I always tell people, like, get on the calls and just, if you don't have a question to ask, just tell me what the hell you're doing this week. Just start telling me. Are you sending out mailers? I know how to up your mailers. Are you knocking on doors? I know how to do that. I've done that. What are you saying to them? What's happening? Are you leaving? If you're going to go knock on doors, you might as well be leaving doorknob flyers, because half the doors you knock on don't answer. Are you putting doorknob hangers on when you're going? No. Well, hell, you just upped your game 50%.
Well, that's the beauty of it, though. You can tell them what to do correctly, but you can also tell them, hey, don't do that because this is what will happen. And that's where 22 years worth of experience comes into play. You and I both know that.
The guy says, I'm mailing out postcards. I says, do you have one number on the postcard or two? He says, I have one. I says, okay, you need to have a phone number that captures the incoming caller's phone number that says free recording on the postcard. You need 2 numbers. One that says to talk to a live person, call here. For a free recorded message, call here. Because believe me, there's people that are going to read your postcard at 12:30 at night after they come in from the bowling alley. They've had about 17 beers. They're smoking their last cigarette, and they're looking at these 27 postcards. They're looking at these 27 postcards on their desk, and they're not going to call those offices at 12 o'clock at night. But then there's your postcard. It says recorded message. It's 12:30. They're going to call the recorded message. You're going to capture your incoming caller's phone number, and you're going to be the only person on that whole table that got a lead.
Yeah. No, I love it. I know you and I could like, I love when we get a chance to talk, because our conversations take on a life of their own every time, whether it's, in the courthouse of Congress, or whether it's, on the phone or at an event. And, I know you've got your schedule's tight, and you've got some other things.
Before we go on that note, I formed the Texas 100 to help form the sellerscoalition.org and to help fund the Texas Land Developers Association to help pay those lobbyists. I'm looking for 100 Texans throughout the state of Texas that value the creative real estate business enough to pay $1,000 a year for 3 years, and to help me find the rest of that Texas 100. Because if we have 100 of us, that's $100,000 a year. That pays for the lobbyists, that lets us know what's going on up in Congress, what the rumblings are, what they're trying to do to the industry, and how it affects us. So I'm at 43 of the Texans right now, and look at it like this. By the time we get to 100, or even at 43, the minds that are in this room are brilliant. 2 of the people that were in the room the other day said, I have to be out of here in at least 2 hours because my Learjet's sitting on the tarmac, okay? They got to go after this meeting. So I'm sitting there going, where in the hell do you get in a mastermind group or sit at a table for $1,000 a year? This is crazy. So for no other reason, get in. But what the Texas 100 does is pay the lobbyists that let us know But we also, like the other day, we needed to get to a representative in mass because he was about to do something that was not exactly what we wanted. We're also the Texas 100 because when the call to action comes, we send out mass text that says, you got to send this letter to Senator so-and-so within the next 36 hours. Copy the letter, sign your name, put your address down there so he knows where you're from, that you're from his state, and then and email it to this email address right here. We need this done. Last time we needed it done, we got 77 letters out in 48 hours to a guy that needed to hear from our industry.
Wow.
And it changed how he voted. So that's what the Texas100.org is about. It's about supporting on the federal and the state level because the Texas Land Developers Association has the state Texas lobbyists, but the Seller Finance Coalition has the federal lobbyists dealing with things like Dodd-Frank and all these bigger issues. So we got them both covered at Texas 100. So if you're from Texas, you want to do that, go to Texas100.org and just read about it. It's very simple. I hope you didn't mind me taking that time.
No, because there's one thing that you and I have learned, and I'm going to speak for you and correct. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. There's one thing that you and I have learned in being part of the Seller Finance Coalition and working with Matt and other great people in our industry, is that you can sit on the outside and Washington, D.C. is going to continue doing what they're doing. That's how we kind of got bit by Dodd-Frank in the first place. We kind of sat on the outside, said, hey, this isn't.
We weren't organized. We weren't organized. And if you're not at the table, you're on the table. That's what that's like the motto of our groups, right? The three groups. Like if we're not at the table in the discussion, our business is on the table being discussed how they're going to dismantle it or regulate it.
Exactly. I think that there's, and that's my point, is that in our conversations with the various congressmen and the various senators over the last several years, the common denominator, the common feedback we probably have received would be, I didn't even know you guys existed.
They don't know. We had to explain to every single one of them what seller financing was.
Yeah. And it's scary because it's a $1.7 to $2 trillion industry. We're 20% of the financing in the U.S. And we didn't even have a voice in the Dodd-Frank matter. We're definitely building a voice right now.
It's really our own fault. We were not organized. And finally, someone's trying to organize it. See, if I can prove the Texas 100 works, and there'll be a Colorado 100 and an Arkansas 100. All my websites are being built so they can be completely cloned by the next state, whoever wants to take it over, whoever wants to lead the charge. And so it's a forward-thinking thing, but we are making a difference.
I'd love to talk to you about
seller financing under the banking commission. We're going to be treated like banks. We got that pushed off.
Yeah, that was scary.
I mean, that was very scary. That would have put me out of business. I mean, you know what I mean? I would have just morphed and moved on again to another thing. But we saved it.
Well, but yeah, that would have put us all out of business. I want to, off the record, or when we'll catch up, in the next week or so. I want to talk to you about maybe taking over the Arizona 100 because that's where I'm at. But
I've got someone talking to me about the Colorado 100, so I'm not even putting it out there like officially trying to find, because I was going to wait till I got to my 100. People are already coming in. So
sure. No, and for those of you that are listening and you're in Texas, I know our database is kind of nationwide. If you're in Texas, go to the Texas 100, sign up. You're going to be sitting at the table with people like Mitch and there's, I don't know, Eddie Speed there.
Huge land developers down in the south of McAllen. And I mean, I live next to one of the biggest land developers in McAllen, Mission, Texas, on the whole planet. He built a bridge over to Mexico on his land and stuff. These are the kind of caliber of people that are like, yeah, what are you doing today? Well, I'm building a toll bridge, border crossing bridge on my land over to Mexico. Oh, really? How much is it? Oh, just a couple of billion. Okay, that's cool. Glad to be at the table with you, making me feel like I'm about that big.
See, we thought we were doing good just getting the trash out to the curb that day, huh?
Oh, man. So it's texas100.org, O-R-G. It's real quick, and there's a phone number there, 210-625-4300. It's the coolest phone number. It's like the postcard phone number I told you about. Call that number. as soon as the recording clicks on, call it from your cell phone number. Texas100.org will have captured your cell phone number. You'll be in a text distribution list. Whenever we have a conference call or a call to action, you will get notified via text when and what to do. And whether you're a member or not, we need people to help us in our calls to action and to support us. So, But please strongly think about being a member at $1,000 a year for 3 years. But if you can't pay $1,000, whatever you have will help and still help the cause and be part of that calls to action or whatever. We need help.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Before we part ways, what's a nugget, what's a piece of wisdom that you can leave our audience with today? Something that, maybe take their business to the next level.
I got it. It's always about funding, right? It's always about private money. Remember this. It has nothing to do with you. I don't care how tall you are. I don't care how fat you are. I don't care if you don't speak English all that well. I don't care if you don't think you're the right color. I don't care if you've had a bankruptcy or you're have no experience and it's your first house. I don't care what you think your excuse is. It has nothing to do with you. It's all about the collateral and the deal. It's what happens, what's backing that up. So when you go out to raise private money, remember that Charles Manson should have been able to raise millions. If he could have just got on a computer and found deals at half price, he should have been able to get that. No matter how many people he killed, he should have been able to get the money, because it's like, hey, loan me $50,000, and if I don't pay you, I'll give you a $100,000 house. Who cares who you are? I'm in. I'll loan the money. If you don't pay me, I really do want the house more than I really want your 8% payment. So please don't pay me. I'm in. Thank you very much, Charles.
I love it. Well, Mitch, it's always an honor and a pleasure, and you always brighten my day when we get together, and I always enjoy our talks and our conversations. Definitely want to find out more about the Arizona 100 and start looking into that and how we can build that up here in conjunction with what you're doing in Texas, which, by the way, is amazing. Thank you very much for doing that for our industry. And for those of you that are hearing this podcast, go to the Texas100.org and sign up. Like Mitch said, at least throw in your phone number there, your cell phone number. You'll get notices. You'll be in the loop. You'll constantly be informed of what's going on in our business, what's going on in our industry, and the importance of that. And that's always that's just going to give you the upper hand as a competitor and as a business person in our industry.
Hey, so do this, Troy. Go to GoDaddy or someplace and see if you can buy Arizona100.org. It'll cost you $8, but if it's available, go grab it.
Okay.
But I appreciate you having me on, man.
Yeah, I appreciate your time too as well, Mitch. And tell your team we said hello. Thank you so much for their help on putting us together. I know that we're both busy people, kind of going in different directions, but different things going on. So appreciate that. I hope you have a great day, Mitch. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And thank you very much. Bye now.
Thank you for listening and being a part of the thriving investor community. Please share this podcast with a friend or a business associate that like you, is interested in learning from top mentors in the non-traditional investing, real estate, crypto, blockchain, buying debt, and so much more. Troy wants to give you a gift, so go to troyfullwood.com/book to get your free copy of Troy's latest book, The Power of Paper. Again, that's troyfullwood.com/book to get your free gift. Go check out the latest episodes and shows at the Thriving Investor community at thethriving investor.com.